Hi everyone, this is Crystal and I'm back with another Traveler's Notebook page. This is a page that's going to go into my Life Crafted album. This is one that I have devoted to our recent trip to Michigan. I've done this page already, which you may have seen. It's on my channel. Today I'm going to be documenting this photo of a cup of morning coffee, and I am using the More Please kit from Feed Your Craft, along with the Good Eats stamp set. So I have the kit. I've already pulled out a few things from that kit to use on this page. I'm also using one of the Traveler's Notebook pages. This is one of the travel notes, Traveler's Notebook pages from Feed Your Craft. And then I have a sheet of paper here from Pinkfish Studio Out and About collection, just because it matches the colors so well. And I want this to be outside of the pocket, so that means I need the pages to be 5 by 8 1/4. And of course this Traveler's Notebook page doesn't quite meet those dimensions. So I do also have a couple of white sheets of paper. This is just white cardstock cut down to 5 by 8 1/4. And I want to do some repeat stamping, I think, for one side of my spread. So that's what I'm going to start with. I have some inks from Pinkfish Studio. These are the Island Oasis set. I think they'll match this pretty well. And I'm going to use some of these stamps to just create a background, just kind of a random repeat stamped background. That's my plan. So I am going to go ahead and put you on fast forward and get started. I'm going to start with the repeat stamping. So I'm going to just grab a sheet of scratch paper that's just slightly larger than the paper I want to stamp on. That's just going to let me stamp off the edge so that it looks like a continuous pattern. And then I'm going to start with the stamp that I'm most excited to use, really, and that's the only reason I grabbed that one. It's the little French press, just because it's a photo of a French press and I thought it was pretty perfect. I'm also starting in the center of the page because I know that this is going to be covered up with my journaling card. So if I make a mistake, if I don't like the colors I'm using, it's not a big deal. It'll get covered up. So that's why I'm starting in the center. And then I'm also just kind of going through both stamp sets and picking out which ones work with the story and the photo that I'm sharing in this spread. So really anything coffee related, especially anything that's just kind of generic, anything that doesn't specifically mention eating or food, because I'm obviously drinking coffee here. Those are the things I'm pulling. So you can see I just stamped this one. I didn't stamp completely. Not going to stress about it because I know it'll be covered up. So I'm just kind of using the stamps that I think fit together well at first, trying to figure out how they might fit together. And then I'm going to go back in with some of the smaller stamps and fill in the empty spaces. I'm also using 2 colors of inks from this ink pad set, and I don't remember what they are off the top of my head, but I will be sure to link them down below. You may have noticed that my ink set actually had 2 of the same inks in it instead of the 4th one it should have had. And I didn't notice it until I started stamping this page. But I actually contacted Pinkfish Studio and they sent me the replacement ink right away. So their customer service was excellent and I had no problem getting the packaging issue fixed with my ink. So I just thought I'd mention that. So I'm going to continue to kind of alternate the 2 colors that I've chosen. I've chosen the lightest color and then kind of the second to darkest color, I guess, the one that I got 2 of. And because it's just 2 colors, obviously there's going to be 2 stamps with the same color side by side. There's no way that I can vary it up that much, but I am trying to get a good balance of those 2 colors. So I don't want there to be all the darker green in one spot and all the lighter green in another, or the minty green in another spot. So just doing my best to make sure it feels even across the page, which is kind of hard to do at first when you're just kind of filling in places. But overall, I just wanted to make sure that I got a good balance of those 2 colors. So there are some smaller stamps on these sets. There is a heart and a little kind of starburst
stamp as well. So I'm using those to fill in. I just wanted to test those to see how they looked, kind of filling in the white space in between some of the larger stamps, and I like that. So now I'm just going to continue filling in the rest of the page, and it does take me a little while. There are certainly faster ways to do this. I could have taken a very large stamp block and placed a bunch of stamps on it, tucked them kind of all in together, and just stamped that a few times, and then or a few times, and then I could have gone back and filled in any empty spaces with individual stamps. That would have been a lot faster, but it would have been harder to do two colors that way. So because I really wanted a mix of the two colors, and because I didn't really have any idea how this was going to turn out when I first started, I decided to just go ahead and stamp individually. And I do stamp some of them more than once when I feel like there is a good spot for the second one before putting it back, but mostly I'm just stamping each individual stamp separately and then picking up a new one to fill in another spot, and trying to fill in as I go. I feel like that's going to be easier than going back and trying to fill in the little spots later on. So like I said, it does take me a little while. You can see I am going off the edge again to make sure that it looks like a continuous pattern, like I had cut this down from a larger sheet of pattern paper. That's what I want it to look like. So making sure to run some of the stamps off the side of the page. And I am using both icon and word stamps, and some that are more filled in and some that are lighter. So again, just trying to make sure I get a balance of all of those so that there aren't a bunch of words in one spot and a bunch of icons in another. But other than that, it's just kind of fun playing around and stamping down each individual little stamp here and there. So I am not going to make you watch that whole process, but I will show you the finished product. Here it is. I'm really happy with how it turns out. I really like the way that it looks, and it's definitely something I want to do again with this stamp set, maybe in some different colors and maybe using some of the food ones as well. Okay, so I'm going to trim down this larger piece of paper so that I can use it on the left-hand side of my spread. So I'm cutting it down to 5 by 8 1/4, and that piece of paper from the Traveler's Notebook set, the travel note set, is going to sit on top of that. I also want to make sure that I get my holes punched so that I don't add any photos or embellishments in the place where the holes need to go and then have to punch through those. So now that I have those cut down to size and the holes are punched, I can go ahead and start building these pages. So I did trim down that Traveler's Notebook page a little bit just so that it had an even border of the pattern paper behind it. And I do know that I want my photo to go on the left-hand side and my journaling to go there on the right. And I want to use some of this yellow stripe card behind my photo just to bring in some of the yellow from that journaling card that's on the right-hand side, just to bring that over to the left. And of course, it's not... the yellow print isn't large enough to fit around my photo, but that doesn't bother me. I don't mind having just a white border on one side, but it does bring in some of that yellow color. I also knew that I wanted to use this little 2 by 2 square of the French press that's on that 4 by 6 card. So I used I think it's a 1 3/4 inch punch to punch that out, and it's going to sit there at the bottom of my journaling card. I just went through the other embellishments or the little die cuts that come in the kit to see if there's anything else that I want to use. I'm also thinking that because that black French press is the only bit of black on this page so far, I'm definitely going to want to find something else in black that I can add. So I went through the journaling cards to see if there was anything there that would work. I did pull out that delicious card, but I don't think I end up using it. I think I end up deciding to stamp in black instead. So I'm going to choose a couple stamps, stamp them in black just on some scratch paper, and then cut those out. So I start with, I think I'm using that kind of more solid flag. Yeah, that one right there. It does not stamp well, and I realize, oh, I need to add my little stamp pad beneath it. So I grab that. It's actually a stitching mat, an old stitching mat from an Amy Tangerine line, but it works really well to stamp on. So that's what I use to make sure I get a better stamped image. And then I'm going to stamp just a few more since I have this scratch paper ready to go and my ink is out. I'm just going to stamp a few more, and I'll end up fussy cutting all of those out just with my scissors. It doesn't take me very long. I think I do maybe punch one of them with a circle punch since I have that other circle. I can't quite remember if I do or not. I know I was considering it. We'll see here in a second, I guess. Okay, so I cut out this one. This is something about delicious, and I want to tuck it up at the top to kind of balance the black at the bottom of my journal card. I don't really like how it's sitting on top of all of that other stamping though, so I'll come back in here in a second and fix that. Right now I'm just trimming out that more solid stamped flag, and that's going to go on the other side to balance that dark circle on the right side. I needed something a bit heavier on the left side, and then I just went ahead and cut with my scissors this final stamp. I didn't end up using the circle punch there. But I think it's going to sit on the left-hand side as well. Just wasn't sure exactly where that was going to go. Oh wait, maybe I did decide to circle punch it. I don't quite remember what I did. Yes, I think that's what I'm about to do. So I don't think I liked the way it looked when I had it just hand cut. So I think I grabbed my circle punch and stamped it again and tried this. I think this is a slightly smaller one maybe than the, yeah, it's slightly smaller than the 1 3/4 inch punch that I used for the black French press image. So I did use the other punch to punch just a little piece of that pattern paper that I used on the left-hand side, and that's what I'm going to add behind that stamp at the top of my journaling. That's going to make it just stand out a little bit. It's much harder to see on camera than it is in person. You can definitely see that pattern paper there, but it does help that stamped image stand out from that busy background. Okay, so I did decide to flip the white border of that yellow striped card behind my photo so that it was on the other side, because I knew that journaling card was going to kind of sit off of that side, and it kind of hides the fact that there's a white border there. And then I can go ahead and start gluing things down. I like that darker piece there at the top. I feel like that balances the other side really well. And then I have that circle that I punched out right there. I'm going to go ahead and glue that down too. And then I just add another little die cut. There was just a tiny little green one that says yum, and I thought that gave it some more weight there at the bottom of the page and helped it feel a bit more balanced. So again, just doing the same thing here on the right-hand side, gluing down the things that I know I want to use. I added a die cut that says Eat Local there at the top, and even though it says Eat, I really wanted that local because this was local coffee that I was drinking while we were staying in Michigan. And then I added all of those pieces together before adding it to the background because I wanted to make sure I got it in the right place. I wanted to see exactly how much space that cluster was going to take up before gluing it down to the page behind it. Okay, so I think I am nearly done. Of course I have to add my journaling, but I do that off camera. I think the last thing it needs is just a little bit of texture. So I grabbed some enamel dots. These are actually from the coffee line from Echo Park. I think those are the ones I end up using. And I'm going to add just a couple of them here and there in a few different spots around the page. It kind of adds more of that circle theme that I've started here, and also, again, adds a different texture to the page. Otherwise, it's very flat. So adding those enamel dots just gives it a little bit more dimension and texture and adds a bit of interest to the page. And then that's it. So it's pretty simple other than that stamped background, which definitely was the most time-consuming part of this page. So there are lots of close-up photos coming up, so you can see all of the details here. The physical kit is sold out already, but you can get the digital components, so I will be sure to link those down below. And the Good Eats stamp is still available, so you can get that as well. I will link all of those items in the description box below. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, I hope you'll give it a thumbs up, and please do hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. We'd love to have you here. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you all back here soon.